No offside.
Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that Spotify channel is back up and running with all new episodes uploaded if you want to listen on the road. But forget about me. Today's guest set out to have the driest equipment before, after, or in between games. He has created an easy way for the hockey community to simply air out their hockey equipment with little to no effort. He is here to explain how you can be less smelly on and off the rink. I want to welcome the owner of 43 Degree Hockey, Dan Webb. How's it going, man?
I'm going great. Good to be here. Excited to talk about all things hockey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had to lead off with the smelliness because, as you know,
Oh
you
yeah.
play hockey, people stink.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a problem.
It is a problem. I mean, it's a very serious problem that, I mean, I still play with people, they don't even air out their gear.
Yep.
And then they wonder why, man, my bearings are stuck.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, you asked me from before when we started what the inception of this was from, and I'm from a non-traditional hockey family. First one in my family to play hockey, so they had we're not ready for the smell. Had never experienced anything like that before, and so my dad would strap my bag to the roof of the car when we were driving to the rink because he wasn't going to deal with it, and so my bag was always outside and always freezing in the winter, and has always been a lifelong problem that's needed solving. That we're excited that we finally now have cracked it and are just exploding every day
that's awesome.
and
That's awesome.
excited to yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I was, I always aired out my stuff maybe a day or two late, but it wasn't until I lived in an apartment with my wife that I started having to like wash my gear on the regular because putting your gear in a closet in your kitchen, it's not the most ideal thing.
No, and what we've done extensive bacteria testing, and what we've realized that airing it out is not at all solving the problem. You're not eliminating any bacteria. If you're doing it in the sun, the UV rays can get a little bit of it, but most people are just airing it out in their garage, or I mean, God forbid, in their hotel room in tournaments or in the back seat of their car. Like I
Yeah.
had some friends I played with in college who just completely ruined cars doing that. But you're not killing that bacteria. You're putting it to sleep, and you're then just waiting until you play the next time, and you're mixing new bacteria with the old bacteria, and that's where that unique awfulness of the hockey smell comes from. Is that I'd say to people, an example is like if you're a marathon runner and you're running every day or several times a week, and you're getting to the point where your clothes are sopping wet with your sweat and you're never washing them and you're just stuffing them in your bag, those clothes are going to be disgusting, and you would never ever do that with anything
No.
other than sports equipment, and more notably hockey equipment. So our bag is very simple technology. If you really break it down, it's just like a fever in your body. It's using heat to kill harmful, and in this case, odor causing bacteria. So there's no chemicals, no additives, no sprays, no scents, nothing like that. You're not masking it or covering it up. You're killing 96% of that bacteria, and you're returning your equipment back to new every time that you use it, so that it feels new and that it smells new, and it actually extends the life of the equipment quite notably, because it's getting rid of that bacteria that's breaking down elastics and making the fabrics tear quicker and rusting your skates and causing a whole laundry list of problems. So all you got to do is plug the bag in, flip the switch. It's silent, low energy consuming, and most people just leave it overnight, and your gear is clean, it's dry, and it doesn't smell anymore. And my favorite part is that we went through several different versions of the bag before we figured out how to make it so that it was a completely self-contained system,
Okay.
meaning the only air that can escape the bag is the air that's already been cleaned. So you can do this in the middle of a hotel room at tournaments. You can do it in a dorm room or in your office or trunk of your car, and you're always going to have clean, dry gear no matter what. And it couldn't be easier.
Nice. Now you did mention like sanitation, right? I mean, what
Mhm.
goes through kind of figuring out how all the sanitation works, especially inside a hockey bag, right? So it's like, what's some things you had to go through, like the test and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the first concept that we proved was my dad and I built a big metal locker in our garage and we put a bunch of heat disc fans in there and proved that if you got the right air movement and you got high enough heat that you could clean and dry the equipment. The smell would completely go away and it would be dried. So we made a bunch of different versions of bags trying to figure out how to take that technology from a big, obnoxious, loud locker and turn it into a bag that would feel like a normal bag. It
Sure.
wasn't going to be this new extra giant piece of equipment. It wasn't fans. It wasn't going to be adding time and equipment to your routine. It was actually going to be simplifying everything for you. So we made a bunch of different versions and we used vents and we used all kinds of different things trying to figure out, of course, in order for it to dry, some of that humidity does need to escape,
Yeah.
right? So I put vents on there first, thinking, okay, you could have a little bit sneak out, and that's what a lot of the bags do now is they have ventilated pockets on the side, and that just allows that bacteria to spread and that funk to get everywhere, and we're back to the problem of you destroying your car again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we settled on the fact that we found a very high quality, tightly woven material and fabric that we use for the outer shell of the bag. And we developed a waterproof zipper that we also use
Okay.
so that allows all of that air to be contained inside of the bag, other than the air that is cleaned, which is fine enough particles that it's able to sneak through the fabrics of the bag and
Okay.
slowly be airing out as it's clean. So that allows the cleaning and the elimination of bacteria to be happening simultaneously while your equipment is drying inside the bag.
Okay. Now, when you're looking at materials like this, are you looking at like medical stuff, or are you just kind of looking at different materials through vendors and stuff?
Yeah, so it was that was through our manufacturer.
Okay.
So we have a partner and a manufacturer, and we were brainstorming and talking with them, and I was explaining what my end goal was for this product to be able to do, and then they would advise on potential different ways as to how we could reach that end goal.
Okay.
So that's where I'm saying we first tried several different vents and systems, and then I tried a lower quality material that what allowed the air to escape so that the equipment would dry, but it would also happen too quickly so that the smell would also be escaping.
Gotcha.
And so then we toyed with a few different fabrics until we found the right one that was the perfect balance of keeping everything inside, but also allowing the air to naturally get out through those small gaps and allow it to air out.
Okay. All right. And so, like going through the process of one, me, you got to find a manufacturer, right? So that's always fun because all the other
Yeah.
companies that are looking for manufacturers, it's turnaround like what's their turnaround time, how busy they are, just stuff like that. But you got to be sitting here going like thinking about as you're creating this, what should you patent and what and like kind of what did you patent, I should say, in this whole
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into my patent. There's how they try and do that is they try and make it broad but also specific, right? So that they can allow it to have a wide scope, but also make sure that it is very fine in wording in terms of making sure that everything is included and
Sure.
covered. So the main components of our patent is a um, the technology is essentially an industrial strength heating element that wraps around the four long sides of the bag and
Okay.
creates a closed loop of heat inside the bag so that the heat has kind of a convection motion inside of it because the heat is coming from all sides of the bag and allowing it to kind of circulate and have some movement inside of there, which helped accelerate the drying process, but also made it so that it could maintain the hot enough temperature for a long enough period to make it work properly.
Okay.
The first few versions of the bag that we made had a heater just on the bottom of the bag, and so it would dry the stuff on the bottom, and it would clean the stuff on the bottom, but the stuff up above it on the top wouldn't have the same benefits. So I then made it U up the sides, and then we finally settled on having it to be a full closed loop of heat.
Okay.
So, another part of the patent is that it is removable and replaceable from the inside of the bag, but and there are a bunch of different things on there, and we are also able to build in things for the future. We have in our plans that we're going to have, a pro version someday that will have an app built into it that we
Nice.
use in our all of our own testing. We have a really great temperature and humidity reader that hooks up to an app on your phone so that you can monitor the heat and the humidity in there. So eventually we'll have that hook up to your 43 Degree Sports app. You'll be able to turn the bag on and off from your phone. It will have automatic shutoffs for once it drops below 30% humidity threshold. You know that everything's completely dry. You could also program your schedule into it so that it knows after every time you play so that it's cleaning and drying your gear. And another huge benefit that we haven't even touched on yet is that so many of our customers love, me included, preheating your equipment so that
Mm.
you turn the bag on an hour before you go to the rink. It's heating up and it works absolute wonders on your gloves and your skates. Your skates feel like you just baked them every time you put them on. I always crank my skates really tight and would always have issues with my feet falling asleep and my toes getting really cold and numb. And you never ever have that issue with your skates, especially if you're in, I sold several bags to people in Fairbanks, Alaska recently who have just been raving
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the life-changing difference of putting on warm skates as opposed to skates that are actually frozen all the time. So you preheat your equipment and your gloves also. So many players, spray water into the palms of their
Mm.
gloves,
Yeah,
and when
yeah.
you're airing your equipment out, cracks out the leathers, dries out the leather. But when you're heating it, it brings out the oils in the leathers to the surface and actually softens and breaks in the leather. So your gloves just feel extraordinary, and all your equipment is dry and broken in and ready to perform at its best from the first puck drop.
Okay. So you're seeing people preheat their gear before the game, play, and then dry their gear.
Correct.
Now,
Yep.
was that like going into the whole concept? Was that something that you tested or?
Yeah. So, even a part of an earlier question that you asked. So, my father, who I started the business with, he has now gotten bought out by some of my new partners here locally in Colorado. But he sells ski and snowboard equipment, and he has worked with a company called Hot Gear that makes a bag with a small heater on the bottom of it to warm up ski boots,
Okay.
because the plastic on ski boots gets so hard that they're hard to get on and off. So you warm up the boot, put it in. It's easy to get on, but also it has the same warming benefits that, you're skiing at a really cold mountain. Being able to start with
Sure.
warm feet is really beneficial. So I was able to contract and work with the factory and manufacturer that was already creating the hot gear bags,
Okay.
and we were able to use that as our baseline and then build off and around that. So I was able to have great relationships with them, knowing that my father and his business partners had already been working with them successfully for a long time, and knowing that the preheat function for the ski boots was so beneficial that that was something that wasn't the main goal for the hockey bag, but something that I was always excited that I knew would work, especially for all of our players, up north and
Yeah, yeah.
northern United States and Canada and everywhere like that. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to see kind of like the mindset going into it where it's like, okay, I want my gear to dry, but now you're taking a concept from another sport and going like, okay, well they preheat their stuff, well why can't we?
yeah,
I'm always fascinated in the thought process behind inventions, new concepts, um, whether it's designing or functionality, right?
yeah.
And that's why I like
One
it.
thing,
Yeah,
one
go
thing
go
on
ahead.
that note that that came out that I did not at all expect was one of our largest contingency of customers is goalies.
Mhm.
And I, just from the beginning, I'm not a goalie and was thinking numbers wise, one in every 30 to 50 players is a goalie. So, I probably shouldn't focus on goalies from the beginning. But what I found is that, Mr. Heffy, great
Yeah.
guy, Stephen Cantinelli, Stefano is a great guy and used my bag and kind of coined the term butter glove, where if you preheat your goalie glove, it really helps it snap open and close way faster than it would ever happen before. And so goalies love preheating their
Yeah.
equipment in there. And goalies also not only have very expensive equipment, but they sweat a lot. And all that leather equipment soaks up all that sweat and it gets heavy and it gets cumbersome, especially by the end of a tournament when you're playing multiple games in a weekend. And so I have a lot of goalies saying that having it being quick and broken in and feeling consistent every game gives them a mental edge because they feel comfortable, they feel confident, but it also gives them a physical edge because their equipment is able to perform at its best and like it should every time you're using it.
Yeah, I mean, I have played goalie, and so knowing that like I take my gear off and go let it sit, that glove and blocker, no matter what, it's gonna get smelly, right? And so like
Yep.
also trying to wash gear, it
Yeah.
sucks because the chest protector is so big,
Yeah.
and that you can't like it's just nice to know that that goalies are able to use it as well, like that their gear is
Mhm.
not too big for your bag.
Yeah, so I get this question several times a week, from emails on social media and from goalies, wondering about this. And I have pro level goalies using it all the way down to kids, and even up to adult with extra large pads. If you carry your leg pads outside of the bag, like most goalies do anyway, then everything else easily fits inside, no question.
Yeah.
And then they'll ever once a week or however so often you're comfortable doing it, you just switch your normal pads out with your leg pads and you clean and dry those too, and you're good to go. So it's a very large bag, and it also, because of the technology of the heating pad wrapping around the four sides of the bag, I added some structural integrity to the bag in order to help it keep its shape,
Sure.
so that that heating pad is always in the right place, and if it's not collapsing in on itself as much, it allows there for a little bit more just space inside the bag, so that that air can move around a little bit and it can air out much better. I found that in the beginning when the bottom of the bag was in a good shape, and then like most hockey bags, if it's not completely full, the top is just
Yeah.
collapsing down in on itself, and then that stuff on the top wasn't getting sanitized as well. So we added those to make sure that the bag has a nice boxy feel, so that that air can get to every inch of the bag.
Yeah. I mean, so looking at the bag, right? It isn't. I mean, I've seen it in person. I've seen uh, Mr. Happy have it, which is why I'm so intrigued with it. Was there ever any thought process, or was it just kind of like thrown out the window of having like like what is it? What am I? Compartments?
Compartments.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes, and we will have that. It was something that I kind of touched on before, but one of my main goals for the first version of this that I was going to take to market is that I wanted it to be so simple that you could close your eyes and do it. And you all you got to do is make sure everything's in the bag and it's zipped closed and you
Gotcha.
flip the switch and that's it. So, yes, there soon enough we're going to have all kinds of different sizes and shapes and versions, and the company is 43 Degree Sports because we are currently developing a duffel size bag that will work for lacrosse and football and all other sports, fishing and camping, and any cold weather sports with snowmobiling and snowshooting and cross country skiing, anything like that. And we're also working on a shoe bag that will work for cleats and shoes and
Nice.
slippers, anything like that, to take the smell away and also to dry them. So there's a lot of a runway here that we're working with, and we will have compartments will be just one of those advances that we have too. We have a idea that we're working on is making them to be have a frame to it, but also be mesh on the inside so that it wouldn't restrict any of that airflow
Gotcha.
inside the bag that I keep talking about, so that
Yeah.
you could have, you could Velcro those into the bag and set them up exactly how you would like them. And then still allow that air to pass through. I do have a couple customers that recently have sent me photos of them just buying a cheap divider off of Amazon
Yeah.
and just throwing it inside the bag, and it still works great.
Okay.
I have a lot of families and youth players that will, buy the mom will buy one bag and keep it in their garage, and dad and two kids will cycle their gear through the bag on a weekly basis,
Mhm.
cleaning everyone's equipment. And if your bag is smaller than my bag, which most of them are, you can just unzip your other bag, dunk that right inside mine, and zip it up. And as long as your bag's open so all that air can get inside, it'll clean and dry all your gear, and you won't even have to switch the equipment back and forth out of your bag.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, so when we're talking, because there's got to be some sort of motor in there, right, to get this thing going.
No, so no, it's just you just plug it into the wall, and there is here. Look, I'll show you. Got one right here. So you plug it in to the wall, standard 120-volt plug
Okay.
here. Then it has a remote on it. Looks like that.
Okay.
It's got three different temperature settings on it. So we crank it all the way up to hot. Most of the time when you're using it, that's going to kill 96% of the bacteria. It's going to sanitize and dry the equipment at the quickest rate. And some people do like having a little bit longer process and cleaning and drying their stuff on the dry setting. But we really just recommend going up to hot. And those two lower temperatures are really on there for dialing in your preheat. Some
Gotcha.
people really like preheating their stuff really hot, especially like we said, if you're in Alaska or Minnesota or somewhere really cold.
Sure.
But if you're playing roller hockey, I know the Buttery Roller Foundation guys are incredible down in Florida, and I'm sure when they're preheating their stuff that in the summer down there, they're probably not going all the way up to hot,
Yeah.
So we wanted to have all those options on there for you, but you just plug it into the wall and flip the switch, and the technology is essentially like a very, very high quality, heavy duty heating blanket that is then wrapped with some materials that
Okay.
make it, durable and long lasting. And then that is, you know, Velcroed into the bag to keep its shape and in position. So,
Gotcha.
no, it's low energy consuming, it's silent, there's no motors, there's no fans, it doesn't make any
Okay.
noise. You can get a, $20 converter off of Amazon, so you can put it right into the cigarette lighter in your car and, run it in your car. And,
Okay.
most pickup trucks and big SUVs these days just have 120-volt plugs right in the trunk, so we have a lot of people that just plug it in right into their car, and while they're driving to the rink, they're preheating their equipment, and they get there and it's warm and broken in and ready to go.
Fantastic. Now we talked about this earlier, before we got on air, but you always put out there on social media that you can fly with this bag. I
Yeah.
mean, were there any hurdles to figure out how this will be acceptable by airlines?
Honestly, no, not really. I mean, when we looked into it, it was just that it's because the big hurdle is batteries, right? That's the main thing that
Mm-hmm.
they're looking for. As long as this is not plugged in and it's just going under the plane and you're checking it. Of course, it's way too big to be carrying this bag on, so you check it and you're all good to go. There's no worries at all. And of course, we did our due diligence and reached out and made sure that it was all good to go. But yeah, no batteries, no issues with that. And we have been toying with a battery version somewhere pretty far off in the future. So maybe we'll have to make that, so that you can have the batteries be detachable or something like that, so that you can carry the batteries on with you, and then you would, check the bag underneath like you would regularly, and that would be okay. So there's workarounds and solutions to that. But with the plug-in 120-volt version that we have right now, it's totally good to go on planes. And we highly recommend it because for hotel rooms and tournaments and traveling, there's no better piece of equipment that you're going to want than the bags that keeping all the rest of your equipment
Yeah.
in perfect shape. And we've designed the bag to have very heavy duty runners and guards on the corners and on the bottoms. And we added extra insulation to the bag woven into the fabric, between the fabric and the heating element. And there's also another pad on the inside of the heating element to separate the heating element from your equipment,
Okay.
so that you can throw the bag around and jam it into your trunk and throw it on the bus, and they can handle it like TSA. We all know they
Nice.
do, throwing it under the plane, and you got nothing to worry about. You can check our social media. I've made several videos of, going to the rink and plopping the bag down and just ripping slap shots at it for 20 minutes and plugging it in, and it's totally fine. We talked about at the beginning that we were never going to bring this to market until it was something that was going to simplify and enhance your hockey routine. And for it to do that, it needs to be reliable and dependable, and it needs to be lasting for several seasons, so that you can treat it just like you would any other bag and any other piece of equipment, and it's going to work for you every day.
Sweet. Now, people who don't know, this is not 43 degrees Fahrenheit because that is not very warm.
Yeah.
This is 43
Yep.
degrees Celsius, right? And if you saw it on the controller, it's pretty hot. Now, knowing the temperature of 43 degrees Celsius,
Mm-hmm.
should there be any worry, especially since I play roller hockey, and for anyone out there listening or watching, with having my skates in there with the wheels, they
Mm-hmm.
are rubbery. So does the heat impact that at all?
Great question. And another question that I get, all the time on a weekly basis. And this was probably the main thing that, we've been developing this for over 20 years.
Sure.
And the remote that I just showed you is the 13th different version of the bag that we have made. And this was the problem that kept me up at night, right? Is ruining equipment, getting too hot, causing problems, right? We were never ever even going to consider bringing it to market until we knew that wasn't an issue. So in all of our testing, we came back with 200 degrees Fahrenheit was where problems happen. Glue starts to melt, plastic starts to soften and break down, skates begin to remold like you're baking them again.
Okay.
Lots of problems that you don't want to have. So we made sure that we capped the bag temperature. It never gets hotter than 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So you are 60 degrees below that point that's going to start harming your equipment, doing any problems or issues. And the remote that I also showed you has a very sophisticated chip in there that is sensing that temperature all the time. And if there's ever anything that's happening that is getting too hot or is not acting in a safe way, it's just going to shut down and stop working before it continues going and causes a further problem. So the bag does have an industry leading 1-year warranty on it. And, the heating element is removable and replaceable very easily. That rarely ever happens. 1 out of 500 plus bags we've had that issue with. But like everything else we've said, we want to be prepared and reliable. So, we have a very strong, contingency plan for that as well. So,
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know because I'm sure because obviously, like you said, we want our gear to last longer, and
mm-hmm.
if the bag is going to destroy our gear while cleaning it, then yeah, it's not
Yeah.
really worth it.
Yep.
But you've
Yep.
already worked through all those problems and kind of did your trial and error, so that's good to know. Let's shift gears a little bit and let's kind of talk you, right? You play hockey. You've already told us about how your dad would strap your bag to the roof of the car because it stunk so bad, right? You are also involved in with the Colorado Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to inform everyone on what that is?
Yeah. Yeah, so I started this season working with a local sports media company called Gorilla Sports. Actually, just like this, I met Jesse Montano, the incredible host of their Off Ice Avalanche podcast, and
Okay.
we really hit it off. And told him about the bag, and he invited me to come on the Avs podcast and talk about it and start a partnership with them. Just like we're going through right now with us. So it really hit it off with them. And my background prior to 43 Degrees was I was living in Hollywood for almost 15 years just after college, being a producer, director in TV and movies out there. So have a lot of production experience, and really hit it off with those guys at Gorilla, and they invited me in to come work with them. So doing all kinds of videography and photography and editing and producing and all kinds of stuff with them for the Colorado Avalanche and for their AHL affiliate, the Colorado Eagles, who are actually both in first place in their respected leagues right now. So been just incredible. And the Avalanche are top-notch organization, and the Eagles are ran pretty much exactly the same way, and they just give us incredible access, and we are able to bring breaking and instant and behind the scenes news to all the Avs fans out there on a daily basis. So any Avs fans out there, make sure you check out Gorilla Sports, and we have beats for all the Colorado sports. It's just they started a couple years ago, and it's all Colorado stuff. So Broncos, Nuggets, Avs, unfortunately the Rockies, CU and CSU, and it's a great company, wonderful people, and been really loving being a part of that. And we're figuring out partnership for 43 Degrees as well. So it's just kind of a perfect blend of everything that I am passionate about and am good at. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So through your networking, were you able to have you met the players on the Avs?
Yeah, definitely.
Have you like, hey, check out this bag?
Yeah, so I don't think I'm not gonna say his name, but yeah, I made a custom bag for one of the best, most prominent players on the Avs a few weeks ago, and he's got his own custom logo that he sent me, and I blew it up and put it on the side of his bag. And another thing, we do all of our own in-house customization here by hand in Denver with an amazing staff, and so yeah, made him a bag, delivered it to him in the locker room a couple weeks ago, and he was telling a bunch of the players about it, and they were all really excited. And he just told me last week that he absolutely loves it, and it's doing nothing but exceeding his expectations. So very, very exciting. And of course they're very busy right now, so I'm not pressing him too hard, but we're gonna do some promotion together here in the future. And the real exciting thing is that I've been told by several equipment managers in the NHL and even the AHL that the way that I'm going to get into those leagues is the players asking for it, because the equipment managers aren't changing anything unless the players are begging for it, right? And not that they have to beg, but so if I can get high caliber players or any players on the team asking and requesting the bag, that's how I'm going to really get into those leagues, and that's starting to happen. So I can talk about, and you will see behind me Milan Hajduk there. I've gotten to be got introductions to him and gotten to be close friends with him, and actually played on his team in a 3-on-3 charity hockey tournament with him and his son a few months ago. And I mean, of course we won, because holy, is he still got it. Like, I was just like, pass to the Hayduks, pass to the Hayduks, pass to the Hayduks. Don't make us lose. Don't make us lose. But so he's been using the bag for a while now and has been a really big advocate for us, and, telling anyone that we can, and, helping open doors for me and stuff like that. So, we're getting lots of really good ambassadors, and, I got some great people in the roller hockey world as well. I'm really close with Eton, the Dangle Dojo. He's been using my bag for a while. I would go down to the dojo when I was out in LA, and he's had one for several different versions of them. Was almost like a tester for me. And also John Giavo was like the first real influencer, big, real connected guy in the hockey world that believed in it, tried it, and it's really been incredible. With helping and guiding and
Nice.
introductions. And in our first year, we went to the Let's Play Hockey Expo in Minnesota, and he's a local Minnesota guy, and it was actually the first time he wasn't playing that weekend, so he was able to be there, and he just had only known me for a couple days and introduced me to everyone he possibly
Nice.
could, and is just salt of the earth, best guy ever. So he'll always be.
Oh, for sure.
We call him the captain of Team 43 all the time. That he's the best. So
Well, and then
yeah,
you also had your was it your first trip to Wish Cup last year or this year?
yeah. So we went 2 years in a row. Yeah.
Okay.
So we've done it 2 years now. So and Colby is the man. As soon as you posted the story today that I was coming on the show, he immediately messaged me and is excited for it. So
Nice.
he's a good guy, and we talked about before what a beautiful guitar you got behind you there,
Oh
and
yeah.
that just symbolizes everything that the Colliers and the Wish Cup do, is that it's just everything is beautiful and top notch. And I say to people all the time that the vibes at that tournament are just unmatched.
Oh
It's just really great. Everyone just has a constant smile on their face, and it's competitive, good hockey, but it just has such a happy, genuine vibe that I'm always telling anyone and everybody, if you can, go.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to make the one in Southern California this year, but I bet that's going to be incredible too. And hopefully we'll be able to get to a Nasher Cup as well, that they're doing,
Mm.
co-branding it with them. Nasher's been using my bag for a while too, and
Nice.
has
Nice.
made a couple ads with us, and is a great guy. So
Yeah.
another huge roller hockey guy who's great. So
Yeah.
yeah,
He's got a pretty sweet rink up in Columbus too.
I want to see it so bad. That the
It's
Florida, the glass is so cool. Why
yeah.
why do not more people do that? I mean, I guess it works great for roller because the puck is lighter. Is probably because it would just probably get ruined in ice hockey with guys missing out on with one timers. But man, it looks so cool, and the footage and stuff you can get is incredible.
Yeah, it's
So
definitely
yeah,
an
good for
experience for sure. I mean, it was fun playing there. So I went to the first Heat Wave tournament, I guess it was when he first opened it.
yeah,
It was fun.
yeah.
But
That's awesome.
I
Did
did
it mess with you at all?
no
Like
no.
seeing through it, like it didn't
It's not
wasn't
necessarily messing
noticeable
with
once you got
you.
locked in.
It's no, it's more it is a different carom around the boards than like the far
Hmm.
side or like rebounds off the glass for a missed shot. It is different
Oh
than
yeah.
so like goalies do have to be aware. But
Hmm.
you know, having something nice comes potentially with some caveats.
Yep.
So, but you could always get some sweet footage through it. So, you know,
That's what it's all about, really.
yeah. But I did want to. You did mention the equipment managers. I thought they were gonna be pissed at you because they're like, "You're taking our job."
I I think those guys work so
Oh yeah,
hard all the time. Though the hours those guys are putting in is crazy. And I'm sure there would be some who wouldn't like it, but I'm sure there'd be a lot of them that would love me saving them some time and effort. And
yeah,
they plug them in at the bottom of the plane, and when they touch down, the stuff's already dry and sanitized and ready to go. They can just
yeah.
get home a little sooner is what I'm hoping for.
Well,
And what I think that and what the players I'm getting them are coming back to me with immediately is that a lot of NHL guys are very particular about their gloves,
mhm,
and they're switching through multiple gloves every game, and they're putting them on the glove dryer. And
yeah,
the problem with the glove dryer is that it's blowing the hot air at it, and it's drying them out, but it dries them out too much, so
yeah,
that the leather gets dried and cracked, and then it loses all the feel too, which is
mhm,
even worse than when it's too wet. So what we found in all of our testing is that what the heat does is that the oil in the gloves, the oil in the leather, when it's dried out, the oil retracts deep into the leather, and
mhm,
that's why it gets cracked and it doesn't feel soft and smooth like leather should. When you warm it, that oil comes up to the surface
okay,
and breaks in and softens the leather, so that it's really making it incredible.
nice,
So it's and that's why it's so great for goalie pads.
mm,
It's
yeah,
also the back. the bacteria also lives mixed with that oil in the leather.
Sure.
So, and I can send you graphs and charts and bacteria cultures and all kinds of extensive testing that we've been doing. And even when you put heavily leathered equipment in a bathtub with bleach, soap, and hot water, which is the traditional washing
Sure.
method, it's barely killing any of that bacteria because the bacteria is in the oil of the leather and the oil is not at the surface. And
Gotcha.
so the bleach is not able to kill it. When you heat it and you bring the oil to the surface, then the heat's able to attack that bacteria and actually eliminate the bacteria inside the leather. So you're cleaning the leather way more effectively and deeper than you would using even bleach and soap.
I guess you had to like science in order to be able to get into this stuff, huh?
I mean, honestly, it's funny because I there was a while where I had a bag that worked, and I knew it worked because it dried the gear and then it didn't smell anymore. I could take the smelliest gear and I could put it in there, and you'd leave it for 12 to 24 hours and it wouldn't smell anymore. And part of me was, we all have, imposter syndrome and
Sure.
insecurities. And I was like, I wanted to get it tested, but I was like, what if I get it tested and like it's not actually really killing any bacteria? Then what do I do? Like, and
Yeah.
so met this incredible guy, David, who goes by the Skating Scientist on Instagram and YouTube, and
Okay.
he's a fantastic, amazing guy. He's a big roller hockey guy too, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, like I have my PhD. This is what I do. I do bacteria culture testing, and he has an extensive resume and has published all these papers. And he was like, I would love to do testing for you. And
Okay.
so before I was going to go to, a big lab and pay all this money and do all this stuff, he was like, let me crack the door open on this and see what it looks like. And he came to back to me just uh, over the moon excited and like almost in disbelief, saying like, I was hoping this was going to work, but I didn't even think in my wildest dreams that it was going to work to the magnitude that it
Okay.
does. Him coming back with 96% of bacteria reduction,
Sure.
and has the receipts and the pictures and the cultures and everything to prove it was, gave us all the confidence in the world to really start, blowing the roof off this thing. And so that was a big confidence booster for us. And we've taken that steps further and done more testing and confirmed this. And so that was a huge step for us that allowed us to really get all the confidence to know that like this thing is gonna change lives. It's gonna save people. It's gonna save people is dramatic, but the Colorado Cup is one of the biggest roller hockey tournaments
Yeah.
here in Colorado, and the founder of the Colorado Cup uses my bag, and he's had an eczema type skin rash on his body his entire life,
Sure.
and he reached out to me a few weeks into using the bag, and it's gone. He's
Nice.
been to dermatologist and used creams and done all this stuff, and it's gone. I went to Hobart College in upstate New York, D3 small school. They've actually won the D3 hockey national championship 3 years in a row. So just total wagon. But I made a custom bag for their goalie, and he used it all over the summer. And he loved everything that all the other goalies do, as I've already previously mentioned. But his thing that he left a review on my website, you can go check it out, and that he raves to me all the time is that he's like, I get sick all the time because I'm training constantly and I'm pushing my body to the max. And I didn't get sick once the entire summer.
Okay.
I was training every day, and I'm normally sick several times a month, and I'm battling through it, and it's awful. And he's like, I think it was my gear.
Yeah.
It was so smelly, and I had so much equipment in there, and we can confirm that there is, flu and cold and COVID and mono and ringworm and, bacterial skin infections. And, if it's a harmful negative bacteria, name it, and I can almost guarantee it's in there,
Right.
and so we're killing all of that, and we're keeping you feeling safe and healthy when you're putting your equipment on, but it's also minimizing sicknesses and it's minimizing infections and rashes. And, even at the NHL level, it's happening all the time where guys are getting cut or, they're getting and they hold them out not because they can't skate or they can't play, but they're worried that putting the gear on is going to
Yeah.
cause infection. So we want to be changing this narrative on, we're trying to spread awareness on not only how dirty and disgusting and potentially harmful your hockey equipment is, but also how simple and effective our solution is for it.
Yeah. I mean, no one when people look at hockey gear, right, they don't even look at the fact they just go, it stinks. They don't look at the bacterial aspect of it. They don't look at that, like, yeah, you are putting these potential diseases that you are, especially if you don't even air your gear out, you are creating a
Mhm.
culture of
Yeah.
whatever you sweat out and whatever gets in there. And so, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it is,
Well, and the ice is dirty too. Like there's a lot of other stuff in the ice too that you're getting. That's not just from your sweat. There's a lot of bacteria on the ice and in the water that's coming from that. And, we still do recommend, ever so often, when you do get a bag, we say if you've been using your equipment for a long time and it comes with all these instructions, wash your equipment one time because we're killing all the bacteria, but you still want to get rid of dead skin and blood and plastics and dirt and all that stuff. And so, like, you should still, if you're playing at a high level, you should still do that at least once a season to get that stuff out, But in the meantime, you're killing 96% of the bacteria and you're returning your equipment as close to back to brand new and as back to just after you washed it as possible. And as we discussed before, with some of that equipment, with the heavily leathered materials, it's taking it way past that and cleaning it more than even that bleach ever would.
yeah. And which I'm just thankful that you have created a way to make people not stink. Because
Yeah, me too.
I can't stand it. I can't. I don't
Yeah.
tell you. I just can't stand. You walk by someone. You can even skate by someone. You're like, holy crap! You haven't
Oh
aired your
yeah.
stuff out.
Oh, I know. I know. I go like right into a sales pitch right away. I'm just like, well, all the bacteria that's in there, and like we need to solve this problem. And like it's hilarious. My wife is a Southern California girl, met her there, and she is just diehard Avs fan and hockey fan. And she, bought a full set of gear and learned to skate and learned to play. And like, she's had a bag since day one because I had a prototype when we met, and that was a big thing that drove me to finalizing this product. Was we lived in a tiny little apartment in Hollywood, and like you mentioned before, I had nowhere to air my gear out. And
Yep.
she's like, you either need to get this bag to actually work or you need to stop playing hockey for a while. And I was like, well, that's not an
Yeah,
option.
yeah,
So like I'm gonna get this bag thing to work, and it's just it's life changing for a lot of people. I got a lot of people in New York City and big cities and dorm rooms and
mm-hmm.
places that they've never been able to air their stuff out. So it's cleaning it, it's drying it, it's taking that smell away. And as the people on the Gorilla podcast made the great point when I was on there, was that like, smell like that is a warning system from your body
Yep.
saying
Yep.
harmful, stay away from this. This is bad for you. Like this smells like this because like you shouldn't be near it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like you said, it's just we've all been for too long like, oh, it's just hockey. There's nothing we can do about it. And we've all justified it because like we love hockey and you're not going to not play hockey because your gloves smell.
Yeah.
But like now that there's a solution that is easy and accessible and you can play hockey and your gloves don't smell, we're on a mission to make it so that and a few years down the line that we redefine what a hockey bag is, and what a sports equipment bag is,
Yeah.
something that can actually be cleaning and drying and maintaining your equipment, because we're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on our gear. And it blows my mind that someone will spend you know, $1,500 on a custom pair of true skates, and then they just toss them in their bag to rot and rust immediately.
Yep.
And it's like, you gotta you protect your investments here,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
let's make sure that that bacteria is not immediately breaking down the elastics in your elbow pads. I would always have problems with my elbow pads and my shin pads sliding all over the place because that bacteria just eats away at the elastic, and then you're a few months in and it's not, even when you're all the way pulling it, it doesn't get tight anymore.
Nope.
And
Yeah.
so we're we're fighting all these problems, and it really just comprehensively improves your whole hockey routine.
Well, I love to hear it. Now, before we go, is there anyone you want to shout out? Anything else you want to mention?
Again, just big shout out to Gorilla. And I mentioned briefly earlier that I have new partners here in Colorado. They're called Interstate Express. They're an incredible shipping and fulfillment company that I partnered with in order to do all my warehousing and help with. We have incredibly fast and reliable shipping, and especially if you're in Colorado, most of the time we'll send a courier the next morning and we'll
Nice.
deliver it to your house right away in the morning. And if it's someone in Denver, I'll swing by and pick one up and go knock on your door and shake your hand, give you a personal thank you, and deliver the bag to you there. But they've been incredible in really helping us start to scale the business
Okay.
up to the point that we want to be. Like I mentioned, we have some new prototypes on the way. We just fully released our team bag is now available for everybody so that it's completely open to customization. We
Nice.
invested in all of our own equipment for in-house customization. We went to several people trying to partner with, and we're a little underwhelmed with the quality of all the people we tried with. So we just invested in our own equipment and make sure that everything is done by hand and to perfection here in Colorado. So if you do order a custom bag from us, we'll have a team member. Some of the time will be myself who will work with you one on one to design the perfect bag that you want, send you proof, send you photos and pictures that you can fully approve the mock-ups for, and then our team hand designs your bag and we'll deliver it to you in a quick way. So we're also using that customization to open up to team and league sales so that we can offer discounts for quantity to teams and leagues and associations, and are talking with colleges and junior programs and tier one and tier two youth programs all across North America now. So we're starting to really expand and grow in all those ways. And that's been in large part due to Interstate Express. So happy to be partnered with those guys and doing that moving forward. And I do have an exciting list of names of people that as I mentioned, are going to be coming out soon for big
Okay.
advocates who are going to be helping us get the word out about this. But Milan Hajduk is incredible, and of course, one of the best hockey players to ever do it, and one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And he's been a huge help for us, and definitely like to shout him out. And as I mentioned before, other guys in the roller community that I've gotten close with Eton and John Shavara, and I'm gotten to be friends with Kazi. You know
Okay.
him.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, he's a good dude. He's a local guy here in Denver. Doesn't live too far here, so he actually has a great group of guys that get together on in the mornings and play roller hockey at a local outdoor rink here. So meet up and skate with those guys a decent amount, and a lot of fun. So yeah, great to be on here. And
Yeah.
are you going to be at the Wish Cup again this year?
I should be. I should be. Yeah, I'll just make sure that my schedule works with it, but it usually does. So, um, I will likely see you there.
Awesome. Yeah, and we got to get you a bag with the No Offsides logo on it for you, so you
Oh,
can
absolutely.
yeah, take that around and make everybody jealous. It's
Oh,
funny that every time I get a random order to a new city or a new town, we just keep our eyes on it, and then three or four or five more orders pop up in the same town as guys on their team get jealous and want to hop on the train. So
for
always
sure.
excited to have anybody, and anyone who's listening who has any questions or concerns or anything like that. There's a contact us tab on our website or social media. Never hesitate to reach out, ask her your questions. Most of the time, I'll personally get back to you as soon as I can and get to the bottom of everything. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure having you. I want to make sure that our viewers and our listeners hit the subscribe button and leave your thoughts and comments. Um, Make sure to go subscribe to the new Spotify channel with all the new episodes uploaded. This one, if you're watching on YouTube, will be uploaded within a couple days on Spotify. And remember, if you're forward checking roller hockey, don't let up because there's no offsides. I'm Dan Dean. Daniel,